How does a man go from being the most feared mind in football to standing at the center of a scandal that has nothing to do with playbooks, wins, or Super Bowls? This is the story of Bill Belichick, then versus now, a tale of genius, control, controversy, and a legacy being rewritten in real time. Once upon a time, he was untouchable. 6 Super Bowls, endless records. A dynasty so dominant it changed what success in the NFL even meant. For 2 decades, Belichick wasn't just a coach, he was the blueprint. Cold, calculated, precise. A mastermind who always seemed 5 moves ahead. But today, he's coaching at a struggling college program. His public image is tangled in a media feud involving his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson. UNC officials are issuing statements. NFL insiders are whispering that some teams still want him. And a journalist, Pablo Torre, is locked in a war of words with Hudson that has gone fully mainstream. So how did we get here? How did a man once defined by championships become the center of a cultural firestorm? To understand the present, we have to rewind. Because everything, the criticism, the lawsuits, the speculation, the drama, means nothing unless you remember what he once was. A legend, a conquering tactician, the architect of the greatest dynasty football has ever seen. Let's start at the beginning. In an era when Bill Belichick wasn't controversial, he was inevitable. Before the headlines, before UNC, before the social media storm, Bill Belichick was simply the most dominant coach of the modern NFL era. His rise wasn't accidental. It was calculated, built on decades of film study, defensive innovation, and an almost obsessive commitment to detail. Players who worked with him still describe his system as military-grade preparation. Analysts called him a defensive savant, and year after year, he proved it. Under Belichick, the New England Patriots became a machine. 6 Super Bowl victories, 9 AFC championships, multiple seasons so dominant they didn't just win, they warped the league around them. His partnership with Tom Brady became the NFL, equivalent of a dynasty out of mythology, the unstoppable quarterback. And the chessmaster head coach, every roster move felt like a lesson, cutting stars early, building depth with players nobody else wanted, recycling veterans into specialists who suddenly played like all-pros to opponents. It felt unfair. To fans, it felt inevitable. To the league, it set a new standard for what excellence looked like. Belichick didn't care about cameras. He didn't care about storylines. He didn't care about becoming a public figure. All he cared about was football. This then era matters because it planted a belief deep inside the NFL that no matter where Belichick went, success would follow. It's this belief that explains everything that comes next. The UNC hire, the speculation about an NFL comeback, even the scrutiny around his personal life. Because when a man this successful stumbles, the world watches differently, more closely, more critically, and when he made the move that shocked the entire sports universe, leaving the NFL for a college sideline, that belief was put to the ultimate test. When the roar of the stadium fades, when the chants dissolve into memory and the cameras turn toward the next rising star, what happens to the legends we once worshipped? Most fans don't know this part of the story. They see medals, trophies, glory, and then silence. But the truth is, every athlete has a second life, one without the noise, the fame, the adrenaline, and that life can be more dramatic, more inspiring, and sometimes more heartbreaking than anything they did on the field. Take Ronaldinho, for example, a magician with the ball, a global icon who made defenders dance and goalkeepers freeze. His smile alone could electrify a stadium. But in the aftermath of fame, life hit him differently: financial troubles, legal issues, unexpected detours that no one saw coming. Yet despite all that, he still inspires millions. He still brings joy everywhere he goes. The magic didn't fade. The world just stopped looking. Or Mike Tyson, from the frightening knockout king to a man, rediscovering himself through vulnerability, humor, and reflection. The world once feared him. Now, it listens to him. Tyson's afterstory is proof that legends don't just evolve, they transform. Then there's Shaquille O'Neal, who reinvented himself entirely. Businessman, analyst, DJ, philanthropist. Shaq didn't retire, he multiplied. He turned his larger-than-life persona into a brand that continues to expand long after the last buzzer. And what about Serena Williams? Her after is not a decline, it's an expansion. Fashion, business, investment, motherhood, leadership. She stepped off the court and entered a new arena without losing her crown. This is what makes these stories powerful. Fame is temporary. Impact is permanent. Every great athlete has two battles, one against their opponents and the other against time. Time changes bodies. Time changes motivation. Time changes everything, except what truly matters, their legacy. But time also reveals something extraordinary. It shows us who these legends really are when the world is no longer applauding. Look at David Beckham. His transformation is almost mythical. From a controversial young star with a fiery temper to a global ambassador of style, football, diplomacy, and leadership. He didn't just age gracefully, he evolved with purpose. Time carved him into a cultural phenomenon. Or Michael Jordan. People think his story ends with the last shot. They're wrong. The real evolution happened after basketball, becoming an owner, a businessman, a mentor, and ironically, one of the few legends who remains more mysterious now than during his prime. Jordan's after proves that mystique is also a legacy. Now think about Conor McGregor. Explosive rise, extreme success, global fame, followed by controversy, decline, reinvention attempts, comebacks, brand building. His timeline is chaotic yet fascinating. He is a perfect example of how the modern sports world creates heroes, and then tests them. And Cristiano Ronaldo, a living case study on longevity. How do you outrun time for 2 decades? How do you rebuild yourself again and again? His physique, discipline, branding, and mental toughness show what reinvention looks like at the highest level. Even athletes like Usain Bolt, whose careers are naturally short, found new lives after retiring entrepreneurship, entertainment, music, ambassador work. Bolt may have stopped running, but he never stopped moving forward. Behind every highlight, behind every trophy, behind every perfectly edited montage, there is a story no one ever talks about. The world loves champions, but the world rarely understands what it costs to become one. When an athlete is on top, people see confidence, strength, glamour, endorsements, but in the shadows, some of the greatest sports icons were fighting invisible battles long before the cameras ever stopped rolling. Take Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian in history. The world saw medals, gold, glory, but the moment the spotlight dimmed, the silence was almost unbearable. He talked openly about depression, the kind that doesn't care how many world records you hold. His unseen struggle changed how the world views mental health. Andre Agassi, one of tennis's biggest icons, fans knew the rebel, the champion, the showman with the neon hair. What they didn't know is that he secretly hated the very sport that defined him. A man adored by millions was quietly suffocating under expectations that never felt like his own. Even Tiger Woods, once the face of perfection, fell into one of the most public breakdowns in sports history. Injuries, addiction, humiliation, doubt, yet he rose again, not for a trophy, but for his kids, for his dignity, for himself. That comeback was deeper than sport. It was a resurrection. Then, and we can't forget, Ronaldo Nazário Arjuel, the Brazilian phenomenon. Injuries didn't just break his body, they broke his career in half. Yet he still came back, still became a World Cup legend, still inspired a generation. His unseen struggle produced some of the most iconic comebacks in sports history. These stories matter because they reveal a truth. Legends are not built on victories. They are built on the battles you never saw. The fans celebrate the final moment. Every era believes its heroes will last forever. But time has a different plan. Yesterday's champions become today's mentors, and today's rising stars become tomorrow's legends. This is the legacy shift, the silent evolution of greatness that unfolds with every generation. Look at someone like LeBron James. When he entered the league, he was the kid chasing Jordan's shadow. Today, he is the shadow towering over a generation that grew up watching him. His legacy is no longer about stats or rings. It's about impact, school building, activism, longevity, fatherhood, business. LeBron is shaping the next era while still playing in this one. Or Lionel Messi, who once fought for acceptance, for recognition, for validation on the world stage. Today, he has moved into living legend territory, inspiring future players who grew up imitating his dribbles on dusty streets and backyard fields. Meanwhile, athletes like Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer show how rivalries create legacy. They didn't just play tennis, they elevated the sport. And now, newer players enter the spotlight, carrying the weight of their influence, trying to carve paths of their own. These aren't just athletes, they are future case studies, future documentaries, future legends in the making. The legacy shift is about more than age. It's about influence. It's about the moment a player stops being a participant and becomes a blueprint. Because legends don't fade, they evolve. And icons don't disappear. They multiply through the people they inspire. In the end, every athlete, every legend fights to battles. The first happens in stadiums, under stadium lights, in front of roaring crowds. The second happens alone. In silence, when the world stops cheering, we've seen the rise. We've seen the evolution. We've seen the fractures beneath fame, and the quiet resilience that rebuilt careers long after the cameras turned away. But that leaves us with a question, one that echoes through every locker room, every trophy case, every comeback story. What truly defines a legacy? Is it the medals, the records, the scandals survived, the battles no one knew were happening? Or is it something quieter, something deeper, something passed from generation to generation? A spark, a blueprint, a reminder that greatness is not perfection, but persistence, because for every superstar we celebrate, there is another one rising. For every icon stepping back, a new name steps forward. Yesterday's heroes become today's storytellers, and today's rising stars will one day be the legends we look back on with awe. The cycle never ends, and maybe that's the beauty of it. As we close this chapter, one truth remains. Greatness doesn't disappear. It evolves. It transforms. It becomes the next story waiting to be told. So tell me, who do you believe will define the next era? Which athlete's journey deserves a deep dive next? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your theory might become our next documentary.